"Take my life instead," she whispered. The outlaw froze with his gun raised. Why would an outlaw, a man who never hesitated to kill, lower his gun for a whisper? And what price would mercy demand in a land where mercy was weakness? The desert was a furnace. The sun burned low and red, painting the horizon in blood. A vulture drifted lazy circles above a dry gulch where the earth itself seemed to have given up. And in that hollow, tied to a mesquite post with rawhide cutting, her wrists, a woman whispered words that froze a killer's hand. "Take my life instead." The outlaw had his Colt raised, steady as the grave. His breath came rough through dust-choked lungs, his eyes shadowed under the brim of a sweat-stained hat. He'd drawn on men without a blink. But this voice, cracked, soft, steady even through fear, made his finger hesitate. The woman's dress was torn, the hem stiff with dirt and blood. Her hair, once dark silk, clung to her cheeks in tangled strands. Every breath looked like it might be her last, yet her gaze locked on him, fierce as any rifle sight. "Not him! Leave him! Take me instead!" Only then did the outlaw glance sideways. Behind her, half hidden by a tumbleweed, lay a boy, barely 12. Eyes closed, chest rising shallow. The outlaw cursed under his breath. He hadn't planned on this. A bounty led him here, not a dying woman and her boy. The desert wind pressed, close, carrying the smell of gun oil and sage. For a moment, time held its breath. The outlaw's mind raced, coin on one side, mercy on the other. He'd sworn never to play the savior. But her words cut deep, carving something he thought long. "Dead. Why him?" he muttered, voice low, almost against his will. Her lips trembled, but she did not look away. "He's done no wrong. I've carried enough sin for 2 lifetimes." The outlaw's jaw clenched. The Colt hung heavy, like the desert itself waited for his verdict. Friend or foe, salvation or a crueler fate. At last, the hammer lowered with a click that echoed louder than thunder. He cut the rawhide with a swift slice of his knife, dragging her upright before she collapsed into the dust. Her body sagged against him, all bone and fire. The boy stirred faintly. The outlaw cursed again, not at them, but at himself. Mercy was a chain heavier than iron, and he had just shackled himself to it. They would ride before dawn, but already the desert whispered of riders coming. The outlaw's horse stamped restlessly, nostrils flaring in the cool bite of nightfall. He hoisted the boy first, laying him sideways across the saddle. The woman followed, weak but defiant, gripping the horn as though sheer will alone might keep her upright. Only then did he swing up behind, leather creaking under the weight of choices he never meant to make. The desert stretched endless before them, dunes like sleeping beasts, shadows crawling with the cold. Each hoofbeat echoed. Against the hollow canyons, sharp as a drumbeat of pursuit. Somewhere out there, men were riding too. He could feel it in his bones. And they would not forgive him for sparing life where a bullet was meant to fall. The woman coughed, the sound raw as torn cloth. "Why?" she asked, not turning her head. He spat into the dust, eyes hard on the horizon. "Don't ask me questions. I can't answer." But the truth gnawed at him. He had killed for coin, for vengeance, for less reason than a whisper. Yet something in her eyes had stopped him, something he could not name without tearing open scars best left buried. Hours passed. Stars burned cold above, and the wind carried scents of smoke from far-off campfires. At last, he reined in near a shallow creek. The horse lowered its head to drink, water rippling silver in the moonlight. He lifted the boy down, laid him gently on a bed of sagebrush. The woman slid off, swaying on her feet. He caught her arm without thinking. For a heartbeat, their eyes met again. Hers were glazed with exhaustion, but still burning with that same fierce will. She knelt beside the boy, cupping water into his mouth. "My son," she whispered, voice cracking. The outlaw said nothing. He stripped a strip of jerky from his saddlebag, chewed slow, then tossed her half. She hesitated, then tore into it like a wolf starved. For a while, silence reigned, broken only by the creek's murmur and the distant call of a coyote. Then came the low thunder of hooves, faint but growing. The outlaw's head snapped up. His hand went to the colt at his hip. Shadows moved on the ridge, 3, maybe 4 riders. Too far to see faces, close enough to smell the iron in their intent. He kicked dirt over the fireless camp. "We move. Now." The boy groaned. The woman clutched him tighter. The outlaw's gaze hardened. He had chosen mercy once. But out here, mercy always carried a price, and it was already coming, due. By dawn, the air was heavy. The sky bruised with a storm brewing out of the west. Clouds rolled low like cattle driven by an unseen hand, and the scent of rain mingled with gunpowder in the outlaw's memory. He urged the horse faster, the boy, cradled against the woman's chest. Every hoofbeat was a gamble against time. The rider's tracks were plain now, stamped deep into the sand behind them. He counted 4, maybe 5 men, riding hard and closing ground. Outlaws didn't chase this long unless they had reason or orders. Someone wanted the woman and the boy silenced, and he was standing in the way. The creek trail led them to a narrow canyon. Rocks loomed like jagged teeth, wind howling through cracks. The outlaw swung down, pressed a palm to the ground. Fresh prints. The posse was less than an hour behind. He cursed under his breath, scanning the ridges. "We can't outrun 'em forever." The woman, pale but steady, lifted her chin. "Then we face them." He barked a laugh, bitter as stale whiskey. "Lady, you don't know the kind of men hunting us." She looked down at her boy, his small chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. "I know enough. A mother fights with what she has." Her words struck him harder than any bullet. He saw again the rawhide cutting her wrists, her whisper echoing in his ears. "Take my life instead." The outlaw forced his gaze away, tightening the cinch on the saddle. He shoved jerky into the boy's hand, even though the lad barely stirred. Then he drew water into a canteen, pressing it toward the woman. "Keep him alive. I'll keep you both breathing long enough to find shelter." Thunder cracked overhead. The canyon rumbled like a drum of war. Lightning clawed the ridgeline, painting the riders' silhouettes for a split second. They were closer now. Rifles glinted in the stormlight. The outlaw mounted again, jaw set hard. "Hold on!" They tore out of the canyon, hooves striking sparks on stone. Rain came down in sheets, blinding, drumming on leather and skin alike. The woman clung to her son, the outlaw's arm steady at her waist. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest, but stopping meant death. And still, through storm and pursuit, something fragile grew between them. Trust born not of choice, but of survival. Out here in the Wild West, every choice carried a price. If you've been gripped by this story so far, make sure to subscribe for more tales of love and survival, because the next twist may change everything. Lightning split the sky again, and with it came a rifle shot. The chase had truly begun. The storm herded them into Dry Creek, a scatter of half-collapsed cabins and one old ranch house still standing. Its porch sagged, roof patched with tin, but smoke stains on the stone chimney told of fires burned not long ago. Sanctuary or a trap. The outlaw led the horse into the yard anyway. He lifted the boy down, setting him on a cot inside. The woman followed, wet dress clinging, face pale but unbroken. The outlaw moved through the rooms like a wolf checking his den. Windows boarded, rifle leaning by the hearth, floor sturdy enough to hold a fight. Outside, hooves thudded. Men's voices carried on the storm. He caught fragments through the rain. "She ain't far. Check the creek. Spread wide." The outlaw closed the door soft, Colt steady in his hand. He turned to the woman. "If they break in, keep him quiet." Her eyes were fire even in the dim light. "Tell me their names. I'll remember." He hesitated, thunder filling the silence. Names don't matter. They ride for the same devil. The boy stirred, murmuring in fever. The woman pressed a cloth to his brow. For the first time, the outlaw let himself look at her without armor. Strands of hair stuck to her cheeks, lips cracked, yet she carried herself straighter than most men he'd ridden with. Then she whispered a name, a single word that struck him harder than the storm. His blood turned to ice. That name belonged to his past, to nights soaked in whiskey and blood, to the gang he had walked away from but never truly escaped. If these riders carried that mark, then this fight wasn't chance, it was reckoning. The outlaw staggered back, jaw tight. "How do you know that name?" Her gaze locked with his. "Because he's the one who burned our home." The storm roared louder, wind rattling the shutters. Hoofbeats circled closer. The outlaw gripped the rifle by the hearth, eyes narrowing. Fate had dragged him back into a war he'd tried to leave. And this time, the cost wouldn't just be his own blood. A shout cut through the night. "We know you're in there! Come out, and maybe we'll leave the boy breathing!" The outlaw cocked the rifle, breath steady. Sanctuary had become a siege. The house shook with thunder, shutters clattering like bones. Outside, the posse spread across the yard. 5 men, rifles glinting under lightning, hats pulled low against the storm. Their leader stepped forward, a scar splitting his cheek, voice carrying above the rain. "Elias Stone," he called. The name hit the outlaw like a brand pressed to flesh. "You should have stayed gone, but you always had a taste for strays." Elias's knuckles whitened on the rifle. Behind him, the woman gasped. He didn't turn, couldn't. The boys' shallow breaths filled the silence between thunderclaps. The leader's voice rose again. "Give us the woman and the brat. Do that, and maybe we'll let you ride away. Maybe." Elias glanced at her then, mud-streaked, trembling, but her eyes still unbroken. She shook her head once, silent, certain. He understood. The storm cracked open. Lightning lit the room. Elias stepped onto the porch, rifle raised, rain slicing across his face. "You'll take neither," he growled. The first shot came quick, sparking off the doorframe. He returned fire, one rider tumbling into the mud. Chaos erupted, hooves screaming, thunder blending with gunfire. The woman dragged the boy beneath the cot, pressing his ears shut, whispering prayers lost in the roar. Elias fought like a man burning the last of his soul. He dropped another rider, then another, but a bullet grazed his shoulder, spinning him back against the door. He spat blood, reloaded, stood again. The scarred leader advanced through the storm, pistol aimed steady. Always the hero, Elias. Always too late to save what matters. The outlaw's vision blurred, but his voice was iron. "Not this time." The leader fired. A scream split the storm, hers. The woman had thrown herself between them, the bullet taking her side. She collapsed, crimson blooming against the mud. Elias roared, emptying his rifle into the leader's chest. The man crumpled, storm swallowing his final breath. Silence followed, broken only by rain on tin. The last riders fled into darkness, leaving bodies cooling in the yard. Elias dropped to his knees beside her. She clutched his hand, blood slick and warm. "Take my life instead," she whispered again, eyes dimming but steady. "Save him." Her gaze flicked toward the boy. He pressed his forehead to hers, voice shaking. You've saved him already." Her breath left soft, final. Elias gathered her close as dawn cracked through storm clouds. The boy stirred, alive. And somewhere in that fragile light a legend was born. The outlaw who traded bullets for mercy, and a woman whose love burned brighter than the desert sun. If her courage stirred something inside you, don't just leave this story behind. Like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell, because out here in the Wild West, love may be scarcer than water, but it always finds a way.